Okay, nobody say anything. Don't move. Skype is working.
Oh,
Welcome everybody. We should probably put an intro in here, like, "Hey, this is Super Lunch Bros, the thing where two idiots talk about nothing."
and never, and have not said the name of their podcast that they're actually on for like
Yeah,
5 episodes.
ever? No, we have like 20 episodes, and we've never said the name of it a
I
single
feel
time.
like we did on like the second one. I remember it once. I think it's been only once.
Okay, so out of the 20 that we've said at one time, this is good. That's good. That's good marketing technique. Is keep everybody in the dark about the name of your product.
But now we're 2 for 20, so getting better.
Woo! That is a 100% increase.
Well,
All right, before we get started, if you're just listening to this, we should have a video up on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Comments down below, all that other stuff. Let us know what you want us to talk about. If you don't want us to talk anymore, that's also a good option. Make sure you let us know multiple times. But also hit the like button.
yeah.
Share this with your friends. Anybody who's interested in MMA, that's pretty much all we talk about on here. And sometimes we ramble on about other bullshit relating to the military, politics, and other sports.
Not as much recently, because all has been worth talking about is fights. Let's be honest.
Dude, there's been so many fights. All right, so first, let's go over. Did you watch the Teixeira fight?
I only saw the last two. So Rothwell, Owen St. Preux, and then Glover Teixeira, Anthony Smith. That was on earlier than I was expecting. I pretty much just like turned it on. I was like, oh shit, it's almost over.
Yeah, I had it on while I was at work because I work second shift, so I had to have it on in the background. I did get a good look at quite a few of the fights. So, takeaway of the Teixeira Anthony Smith fight.
I mean, Glover's still in it. That's like,
How do you feel about the stoppage, or the lack thereof, or the lack of the towel being thrown in?
It's almost like, and I noticed this with the last two UFCs. It's kind of like the pendulum took a hard swing the other way.
Oh, because of the Dominic
I feel
Cruz
like there's
thing?
a bit of an overcorrection. Maybe not overcorrection, but there's definitely a pendulum swing, I feel like, for the last two. Because there was a couple of fights where I was like, really? It's not stopped? And that's a little bit more related to the one last night, but also with this one. I was like, I was more upset about the corner not stopping it, honestly, especially for Anthony Smith. When he was saying his teeth were loose. Like,
no, that's not what he said. He said, "My teeth are falling out." He did not say my teeth are loose. He said, "Hey, my teeth are falling out." And the words out of his corner was like, all right, we need you to breathe out there. Like, that's not going to keep my teeth in, sir. That's not going to keep them in. At one point, I didn't realize what was happening because that was before, or I didn't think about it. Anyway, Glover had his back. He was punching him. You know, he had him mounted from the back, and he was laying down some ground and pound. Just not enough to stop it, but he said something to him, and I didn't know what it was. But apparently, what he said was, "I'm sorry about this, man." And Anthony Smith goes like, "It's all good, brother," or something like that.
Oh, it wasn't that. It was like, it is what it is.
Oh, did he say it is what it is as well?
Yeah.
Because I know that's a Max Holloway thing, but
no, I think it was it is what it is. Yeah, because you can look, if you watch the replay, you can catch it a lot more clearly because it's pretty much all that's going on, just them talking to each other while Anthony Smith's getting hit.
Yeah, so during that position, at one point I just saw him like grab something and reach his hand out towards the ref, and at the time I didn't know what it was. It was a tooth. It was a fucking tooth, and like the referee's like, "I got you." I thought, like, I don't know, like a piece of his glove or maybe his mouthpiece. I literally had no idea, and then I put two and two together at the end of the fight, and then also the analysts were saying like, yeah, he lost two teeth, but one of them he fell out and he saw it and he picked it up and handed it over. Those were not veneers; those were his teeth, and they fell out. So let's go round by round. This is not going to take long.
This brings up a question, though, before we move on from the teeth thing.
Okay.
What is the dental plan policy?
They do. No, they do a really good job.
I know they take care medically, like hardcore. I know, especially post-fight, like there's pretty good medically. I was just curious, like, I wonder if the dental plan is as good.
I think it is, but I also think a lot of these fighters they just end up wearing like how hockey players they have like those false teeth that are like almost fit in like a retainer. I know Dan Henderson wears his like I think DC also has one because I think he's missing a couple teeth. And I think it's like Bisping's eye. They're
still crazy.
Well, the thing is, like, they could get it fixed, but they're still getting punched in the face for a living. So it's like the chance of them coming out again is probably higher than they would like it to be. So they're just like, okay, I'll fix this when I'm done, type of deal. I'm sure they get some sort of compensation because the damage did take place during the fight, just like any other like injury. But it seems to me that a lot of these fighters opt out of fixing things while they're in because they realize like, oh shit, this might just break again or whatever. So what's the point? Same with their noses. Like they really only get if their nose gets mangled, but it's still operating at well enough. A lot of fighters don't get it fixed until after they're done. I noticed Arlovsky's nose looks straight again because he had like his nose was like underneath one of his eye.
It was like, just completely slanted.
Yeah, so he got it fixed. Like, I mean, I'm sure it was bothering him and he couldn't breathe, so he got that fixed, and I mean, he looked really good that night. But okay, so here's the cool thing, or not cool thing, the sad part. Round 1, Anthony Smith, 37 of 82. Glover Teixeira, 14 of 36. Clear Anthony Smith round. He looked really good. I thought he looked fine. I think Anthony Smith looked a little slow, but it was fine. Second round, 36 of 92 for Anthony Smith, 30 of 62 for Glover Teixeira. Much closer round, but remember, that's the round where Glover Teixeira punched him low and hit him in the nuts. And we don't talk about that affecting fights unless, Ben Rothwell kicks Stefan Struve in the dick 15 times in a row.
I think we talk about it more with eye pokes than nut hits.
Yeah,
I think that gets a little bit more.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, he looked good up to that point, and DC kept commentating about it and saying, hey, his corner's making him go crazy, and he has this high output, and I know they don't want to dwell on a foul, but there's part of it is, if you're already on the line of, you're putting out 80% of your max for an extended period of time, and you can carry that for at least 20 minutes, right? Or let's say 15, and then you can dial it back or pick it up when you need to, and you have that all worked out. When you get hit in the nuts, like, it does affect your cardio, and it not just your physically, but it can affect you mentally as well, because now you feel an additional pain in the gut. So
a good part of cardio is also mental.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know I'm not saying that was the reason why all this happened, but it definitely took a toll on him, and you could tell. And it was also it was a key turning point in the fight, where after that he did not look the same. He was already looking a little off, and then after that he looked terrible. So after that relatively even round 2, here's round 3. Anthony Smith, 1 of 5. Glover Teixeira, 43 of 54. That was a blowout round. That's where he dropped him, and like the fight could have been stopped. But then again, Anthony Smith was doing what he needed to do, and Glover Teixeira he just didn't put a stamp on it. Okay, fine. I'm okay with that. Next round, 12 of 29 of, I wouldn't call them significant strikes because they were nothing. 32 of 46 for Teixeira. And then this is the point where, he goes back to his corner. He's like, hey, my teeth are falling out. His demeanor wasn't like, I'm trying to get up, I'm trying to fight. It was literally like, I know he wasn't looking for an excuse to quit. That's the problem, is a lot of fighters in that position, he's beaten down. Who knows how he was feeling internally or going into this fight. And a lot of fighters in that position, getting beaten down like that, they look for an exit, and then they just totally give up. And there was part of him again, just watching this from the outside, there was part of him that looked like, oh, dude, I just do not want to be here, but I cannot quit. And it looked like he was riding that line of, I'm doing enough so I can stay in this because I'm not going to quit on myself. And that's what allowed this extended amount of punishment to go on. Because in that, what was that? How much riding time did he have? Oh, good God. Yeah, so the last 2 rounds were 100% Teixeira. It was so bad, man. And I got really upset because, one, I was rooting for Anthony Smith. I think he's a really good analyst. I like him commentating as well. But I think he can do really well in that division. And going forward, he seems to have a lot more tread on the tires than Glover does. That being said, Glover looked fantastic. I'm not taking anything away from him, but we've seen what it looks like when Glover goes up against the upper echelon of the 205 division, which in his favor is pretty thin these days. So the downside of this is we lose a experienced yet younger contender in Anthony Smith. And another downside is we have an aging 205er who has fought for the title and got destroyed, has been knocked out quite a few times and has shown like there's clear weaknesses in his game, but he still does enough to beat up on the up-and-coming talent. So you have like the best gatekeeper possible just destroying talent coming up. And I mean, I don't know what you do with either one of these guys after this now.
It would have been nice to see a win from Anthony Smith just because he's kind of right at that cusp of like being one win away from getting another title shot. But with Glover, it's like, does he beat Thiago Santos or Dominic Reyes?
Maybe. The thing is, he's got the tools to do it, and if his chin holds up, he can do it. I mean, look, this is not MMA math. I'm just trying to compare. Like, look what Alexander Gustafsson did to him. He spammed uppercuts and hit him with like 4 of them in a row, and sat Glover's ass down hard. Like he demolished him. Anthony Smith beat, and that's the thing. It's like Anthony Smith beat Alexander Gustafsson. So it's like we're in these contenders taking each other out type of deal when it's already a thin division as it is. Like these guys, I feel like there could have been a better matchmaking. And I understand that it's in weird times, so we're trying to get eyes on the sport, so fine. But like, let's not try to kill off some of the people who have, let's give Glover a true up and comer, right? Let's give him somebody who doesn't have as big of a name, because Anthony Smith fought for the title.
Johnny Walker?
No.
Glover? Okay.
No. Yeah, give him a Johnny Walker or a not Khalil Roundtree. Yeah, why not? Khalil Roundtree, those kinds of deals. These guys who don't foothold in the 205 division, but clearly are, on the doorstep of the top 10, top 5 type of deal. Because Glover's had his shot. Glover's been bouncing around in the top 10 for a while now, and he's at the point now in his career with his age, his skill set, and let's face it, who the champion is in that division, where he doesn't have a lot of mobility to go around. So, give him a tough matchup, yeah, but unless he's here, okay, let me just say it this way. If this would have been a number 1 contender fight and they were fighting to see who was next for John Jones, I'm okay with the matchmaking. That's fine. Because you're taking 2 guys in the top 10 and you're like, hey, but this division is so thin. If this was 155, there's no problem with this. If this is 145, 170, no problem. But we're in a thin division, and we're going to take 2 ranked people and put them next to each other with, like, there's already a logjam, like with Jan Blachowicz and Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos, all biding their time and waiting for that title shot. And now we're gonna.
Corey Anderson are both up there too.
That's what I'm saying. What are we gonna do here? We're gonna just like knock two of them off with no prospect of either one of them getting a title shot right away. I don't know. They're good at their job at matchmaking, and they obviously know more than I do. I don't know if they wanted to go this way, but congrats to Teixeira, man. He still got it. He's one of the nice guys in the sport too. Good win for him. Dominant performance.
Nothing against him for winning.
No, absolutely not. It's not even his fault. Like, what happened? Like, what is he supposed to do? Stop hitting him?
Not beat someone in the top 5? Good for him for getting back up there. Staying relevant.
They put someone in front of him and he knocked them down. Like, that's all that he could do. And same with Anthony Smith. Like, he went out there and he lost. Like, neither one of these guys is to blame for what happened. So, all right. So before that, we had Ben Rothwell versus Ovince St. Preux, which was coming
in thick.
Dude, Ovince, he came in at like 240. Like, holy shit, dude. That's a big guy. And I'll take the lead on this one. Ovince looked exactly how he normally does. No cardio, big shots, and it almost worked. Like, he almost stole it, I guess. And Rothwell just being his awkward ass, big hairy ass Kenoshan dude, walking forward like Mike Myers, just like this guy who never moves fast and just like this unkillable monster just walking you down the whole time. Rothwell's a bad matchup for a lot of people in the heavyweight division, and like, he's got a crazy chin, and he's awkward as hell, and he's big, and he's that fight was just weird. Good win for Rothwell. Let's see what happens. Ovince definitely belongs in the heavyweight division. It's just the rest of the heavyweights, let's be honest, not a lot of them have cardio, so he fits right in.
But I hope he recognizes and makes the change, because if he came in at like 230,
dude, he's got like 30 fights in MMA, or at least that. He's not here. Let me see. Like, we're not talking about some up and comer anymore. Like,
hey, if he's happy, just cashing the check, I guess.
38 fights, 24-14, man. Like, this is a seasoned vet at this point. Like, I think this is kind of like who you get with OSP. Yeah. It's not a bad fighter. He's still he's insanely good. Like, he can knock anybody out. Crazy good fighter. So I'm excited to see him match up with people at heavyweight.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be mad about it. Like, I'm still gonna watch those fights.
Ben Rothwell versus. Come on, everybody was looking for someone for him to fight. We got a guy with a rock solid chin who's, I don't know if he's ever been knocked out in the UFC, versus the guy who knocks everyone out, Ngannou.
I don't want to see that.
Oh, come on, it'd be fun.
They both feel like
fought.
What's Ben's record recently? Like, is he on
he's not bad. Let me look.
Is he on a streak at all?
2 fights, which in the heavyweight, remember he kicked Stefan Struve in the nuts 17 times.
That's right.
He lost a decision to Arlovsky. He lost a decision to Ivanov and Junior Dos Santos. But before that, he was on a 4-fight win streak. But he was.
I'd like to see 1 or 2 more from him before you put him up there.
That's fine. I just think that would be a fun matchup. You got a guy who I don't know if
I'd do him versus Derek Lewis. That'd be.
Oh God. Actually, you're right. I mean, you essentially have the watered down version of Ngannou versus him. So
I think they'd be more active than that, though. I think that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ever been knocked out. Oh wait, that's not true. He was Cain Velasquez knocked him out back in 2009. Oh, and Andrei Arlovsky knocked him out in 2008. Since then, no knockouts.
I'd watch that. I'd watch. Oof.
Yeah.
Well, that was all I saw from that night.
Oh man, you missed a really good one. Real quick, I can just go over a couple of them. So a couple of fights I want to highlight. One, Drew Dober versus Alexander Hernandez. Drew Dober coming from the same camp as Justin Gaethje. Drew Dober has been in the UFC for a very long time, and he's always been an excellent striker with really weak takedown defense. And he looked freaking phenomenal against Alexander Hernandez, and he put it on him and ended up knocking him out in the third round. So he looks so freaking good, man. Or the end of round 2. Looks Drew Dober at 155. That is you got another contender, another contender in the most loaded division. Ricky Simone versus Ray Borg. Ricky Simone I just want to say he cut his mullet, and he still won. So maybe the power wasn't in the hair. And then two more fights. One I want to talk about a little bit. So Andrei Arlovsky versus Philippe Lins. Andrei Arlovsky, everybody has been. He does the same thing as Alistair Overeem, and he's not going to get as much credit for it because he doesn't have the knockouts lately. But as far as his defensive intelligence, Andrei Arlovsky has been so good the past 6 years. He's gotten knocked out a couple times, like he's gotten tagged, and you've seen how his chin has gone. But really, he's getting caught clean by like the upper echelon guys who can hit hard. And yeah, he's gone on a couple losing streaks, 4 or 5 at a time. But the guy has gotten very sharp, and he's been able to hide that chin, and he did it again in this fight. It's just some of these heavyweights just will not go away. Like that dude has been fighting for 20 years. Anyway, and shout out to Brian Boom Kelleher for knocking out Hunter Azure. Just insanely good fight. Like he knocked him out in the second round, and the big right hand, so good. All right, okay, back to the fights from yesterday, which is so the fight night one on Wednesday. I think they were calling UFC Jax, and then this one was called UFC Florida.
Fuck, just keep it rolling. I'm not mad.
Yeah. So, biggest story of the night was Walt Harris losing his daughter. The reason why this fight was supposed to take place quite a few months ago, and it got called off.
I hate that he had to fight Alistair Overeem. That's.
I mean, I don't. I'd rather. He was supposed to fight him.
I want him to win, but I also love Alistair Overeem.
So do I. I wasn't rooting against Overeem.
Yeah. It's a sad thing to put so much publicity behind it just to watch that. Like, my heart broke just watching him be down there on the floor after he lost. Like, it was a great fight, but that was sad.
They also showed Kevin Randleman getting inducted. Like, he's now inducted. Yeah. He got inducted into the Hall of Fame.
UFC tearjerker.
That's what I said. I was like, they were just trying to make everybody cry yesterday. So Walt Harris loses his daughter. That's fucking terrible. Like it was like, she was she was kidnapped and she was killed. This fucking horrendous. So that all happens. Walt Harris, obviously the fight with Overeem got canceled, rescheduled for later this year. And I think all this shit happened and finally takes place. So that was a big storyline coming in. Dude, Walt Harris is insanely athletic, and he hits hard, and he deserved this fight. Anybody who's like saying like, oh, he just got this fight. First of all, it was scheduled before, like I already said, and second of all, he's coming off
on a tear too. Like
he won 2 fights via knockout. Really, It should have been 3. But he won 2 fights via knockout in the heavyweight division. That's as good a streak as any.
People have gotten championships for less.
Yes, 1 win. That's all. Walt Harris catches him in the first round with a big right hand. Catches Overeem falling down with with follow up left, and Overeem manages to survive.
I was surprised. I was expecting a stoppage there.
I wasn't.
Overeem
kept moving, man, and this is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm saying we've been robbed of performances like this. Like, yes, on the very extreme end, we get stuff like Glover Teixeira versus Anthony Smith, where a guy loses teeth and he's clearly broken, and his corner needs to do something to protect the fighter. But in the other case, like, we get stuff like this, and this is not so uncommon
No.
This is not so uncommon to say like, oh, this is 1 in a million. Like this is not a puncher's chance type of deal. We're talking about a very experienced veteran who shelled up, was able to defend well enough, and got back on top in the first round. And I leaned toward Overeem winning that first round. I understand that getting knocked down is not a good look, but he was on Harris's back for over 2.5 minutes, pounding on him.
I would say he controlled most of the first round, even though he got knocked down. And he
did. I would say
he did damage too.
It's hard to say he did as much damage because he didn't knock Harris down. But the thing is, Harris was already down when he was punching him.
Yeah.
So, who landed the biggest shot in the first round? Walt Harris. Who landed more shots and did more things? I would give it to Overeem. So if you want to give that first round to Harris, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. I totally see it. Second round, dude, Walt just had no gas left, man. He had nothing left in the tank, and Overeem lands a beautiful right head kick and follows it up with this snappy left hand, like down the pipe, man. It was so beautiful. Puts Harris down, gets on Harris's back, pancakes him out, and he's just hitting him repeatedly on the ear, like nice and like he's hitting him, relaxing, hitting, relaxing, looking at the ref, hitting, relaxing, and just waiting for the ref. He wasn't doing a ton of damage with each shot, but he was letting the ref know, like, hey, I'm totally in control right now. He's not going anywhere. And I'm also not going to sit here and pound on this guy. So you're more than welcome to step in whenever you want. And he gave, I think it was Dan Murrigiata, he gave Harris plenty of opportunities. Like, hey, Walt, you got to do something, man. And he wasn't taking an exorbitant amount of damage. And then eventually he just called it. And happy birthday to Alistair Overeem, the big 4-0. He finished the fight 8 minutes before his 40th birthday. And dude, we said this before, like what Alistair Overeem is doing now is, you know what? I think it's more impressive than what he did earlier in his career as Overeem, because you know what his weaknesses are now, and we saw it blatantly. We saw it like in full force in that fight. Like his chin just cannot handle big shots from these heavyweights. Well, the chances of you getting caught by a heavyweight is very good.
Yep.
But Overeem, I think Overeem should be on a 2-fight win streak right now. Like three or 2 fights. He beat Rosenstruck. That fight was bullshit. Like he spent 25 minutes beating the crap out of Rosenstruck, gets caught in the last 3 seconds, and then Rosenstruck walks off. Like,
I would not be surprised if Overeem is in another championship fight.
I hope he gets one.
Yeah, just based on how heavyweight is right now, like I wouldn't be surprised if Overeem finds his way there next year after another win, maybe 2.
Oh God, hold on, dude. I gotta send you a screenshot of this. So every single fight on this, like I'm looking at Sportskeeda, which is the UFC. It shows the UFC results. It says heavyweight, Alistair Overeem defeats Walt Harris. Women's strawweight, Claudia Gadelha defeats Walt Harris. Featherweight, Dan Ige defeats Walt Harris.
Oh, Walt Harris, come on! I love
like, this looks so bad. Oh, hold on, let me refresh it. Oh man, it just says that. I don't like that look. Okay, now I gotta go to a different site. But yeah, so. Dude, today they have just been monsters. Ugh. All right.
Cleaned up my stuff in the room.
Very good. You did the thing that you're supposed to do. Congratulations.
How crude.
You do not get a cookie.
How crude.
Dude, yeah, they've been.
You don't deserve a parent to love.
What? I have parents. Ugh. Children. All right. So Overeem, he wants that title, and I believe him when he says it. It's not somebody looking to ride out a couple fights left on his contract and sign for more money. This is the guy who is constantly, they pointed out in the broadcast, he's looking to improve. He's changing camps constantly, and after this fight, dude, class act, man. He hugs Harris on the ground, and he's like talking to him, and then eventually he's like, dude, let's train together. And he's like, let's get better. If you don't like Overeem because you think he's a cheater, like fine. I disagree. Like I don't think it's cheating when everybody's doing it.
Yeah, I kind of give a gray area to the TRT folks. Like,
dude, all that stuff. It means nothing to me. Like it's so silly. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's going to end up. He's another good win away from a title shot.
What would you
maybe
say?
2 wins.
Junior Dos Santos or Curtis Blades next?
He already beat Junior. He got knocked out by Curtis. That would be a hard fight for him again. Curtis is on a 2-fight skid.
I mean, the only people really left above him is either those two, Derek Lewis or Volkov. I mean,
Volkov.
Yeah.
I would see, him versus Volkov's a good fight because you have 2 technical strikers. They're both very tall. And Volkov isn't known as a giant power puncher, so we're not looking for, a puncher's chance to take out a guy who only gets taken out by big punchers,
Yeah. And I mean, with
like,
Overeem, he's pretty much fought almost everyone in the heavyweight division. So, I mean, he's going to have to do some repeats. So
yeah, but I don't want to see him against Curtis Blades again. I would rather see Curtis versus like Derek Lewis or something. I think Curtis smokes Derek Lewis. So yeah, Overeem versus Volkov would be a good fight. And yeah, you know what? If he beats Volkov, he could be in title contention. I mean, Rosenstruck was basically 1 fight away from it. Like if Rosenstruck beats Ngannou, right, in a crazy bizarro world, right, he gets a title shot.
Yep.
And Rosenstruck is good, but like I said, he got tooled by Overeem.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a pretty strong chance that DC Stipe fight, if that happens, that's both of their last fight.
It could be.
And then you get a title, you essentially just get a vacant belt and Ngannou fights somebody in the top 5 for it. So
I'd rather see Stipe defend it one more time before he goes. But yeah, you could be right. And I wouldn't mind if he fought Stipe again. I actually wouldn't hate that either because yes, he got knocked out, but like he rocked Stipe pretty hard in that fight. So like I said, I feel bad for Walt Harris. I think this is like a great learning experience for him. I think if he does take the opportunity to train with Overeem, it'll be fantastic. And I feel awful that it went this way.
With how the heavyweight division is, I'm not worried about his career.
No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just for him, like if his heart is in it and he wants to keep doing it, I'm confident we'll see him in the top 5.
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping he comes back stronger, better, and just as focused as he was for this fight. He didn't look bad either. I mean, he looked like good Walt Harris. It's just I think he just went for that finish too. He saw the chance to finish it. He was so close to it, and he just didn't get it. And that's that's heavyweights, man. If you blow, you blow your wad in the first round.
I'm sure there was a lot of emotion in that gas tank too that got dumped along with.
Yeah, plus a long training camp and back and forth. He came in a little heavy.
COVID. It's a weird.
Yeah, Corona season, all that shit, man. So, there's lots of factors that played into this. Overeem looked fantastic. Harris looks good, and dude, what a crazy end to that night. Because we had a bunch of these shits. Claudia Gadelha. Yeah.
Gadelha. Yeah. Claudia Gadelha.
She beats Angela Hill, sort of, by split decision. So this is the first of a few that we're going to talk about here.
She got declared the winner. I don't know.
So a couple things. Claudia looked heavier, like puffier than usual. She did not look as sharp. She looked slower than usual. And her cardio, which has famously not been great, also looked bad. All of that being said, she still won a round.
Yeah, I saw 2 rounds of her getting pieced up and her, definitely winning 1 round.
Yeah, so the first round definitely was hers. Second round, she throws an errant left hook and Angela clips her right on the jaw, and she does a spinning fall down. Angela just looked real sharp. She's looked real sharp in her last 6 fights. She's been fighting like an animal.
How was she not ranked? That was what's crazy to me about the fucking UFC rankings. I know.
It's straw weights, man. And then in that last round, I really thought she did enough. Claudia, so I'm not mad about the decision in general because it was a close fight, but Claudia she has that thing, the Darius Lewis, I'll call it the Derek Lewis effect, where you throw the bigger punch and land with more noise. Therefore, what you're doing is more impressive than your opponent, right? Whereas if you get hit with a stinging jab 3 times, it might do as much damage, but it might not make as loud of a thud every time it punches. Like some of those jabs, like they don't make much noise, depending on where they hit you. Whereas like a nice slap on the side of the face from the glove hitting the side from a big hook, like that can make a lot of noise. Or even if you block it, right? If you block it, that slap, it makes a lot of noise. So,
and if I was going to go off instinct, what I think ended up winning her that third round was the last like 30, 40 seconds.
Maybe.
And like, if that's what sticks in the judge's memory is her being more aggressive in that last part of the round versus Angela Hill, who pieced her up. Like, she was extremely technical, but she was not as aggressive near the end of that round. And if there was a recency bias in it, maybe that's how I understand Claudia getting it, but I still definitely think Angela had won that third round.
I really just think it was the bigger shots, man. Like she just throws bigger looping punches and they make more noise. Angela threw her fair share of hooks, but then she started straightening out her punches and landing more. She looked fantastic. Yeah. Angela Hill is
I hope we see more of her. Yeah.
She has glaring weaknesses in her game, but everything is getting shored up so fast because she just started fighting. She could be a problem for a lot of people unless you. It would be interesting to see her against another like a strong grappler. Give her a nice test like that, because you're not getting any favors in that 115 division, and she's been on a 4-fight win streak, I think, before that. And
do you know what she kind of reminded me of, like stylistically, kind of like a young Dominic Cruz. Like before he'd really stamped out his style, but when he's still kind of developing, like that's what it kind of reminded me of. She had, she would get caught up and kind of brought into the fight a little bit, but when she was in her element, she, just excellent lateral movement.
Yeah, and
really light on her feet. Yeah.
So the reason why Angela Hill's not ranked is because the last 3 people that she fought were also not ranked.
Yeah,
so she's on this was her back fighting someone who's a contender, and she looked fantastic. I thought like the amount of improvements that she's made, and then I also think Claudia looked, I'm just gonna be honest, she looked like crap. That first round,
it's a sloppy win. That's all I'll say.
She did not look good physically, stylistically. She looked like crap. It doesn't look like the same fighter. I don't know if this was a one-off. Again, Corona season. It could be literally anything. I'm not going to hold it against her. I'm not saying like she's a terrible fighter or anything like that. It's just she did not look like the killer that we've seen before. So this followed Dan 50K Ige defeating Edson Barbosa, also by fucking split decision. I love Edson, and if I picked with my heart, I would have picked him. But as I was calling this, I actually called it for Ige. That second round was so hard to call.
Yeah. I was less upset about this decision. I was like,
dude, Barbosa did. First of all, him cutting down to 145, he looked really good. I feel like he looked a little bit off. Again, Corona season, so everything I say with a grain of salt. But he looked a little bit off. He made the weight fine. He looked a little wobbly in there, but that could have, thinking back, that's kind of how he's always been. So that's fine. And I think that did not play well for him. Because again, Ige throws big looping punches, and Edson like rolls with a lot of things, and he moves a lot after the punch. So any one of those gets interpreted as a more damaging shot than it actually was, and that could be the round. So
I think the hard part for Barboza
That's
is he might be a better fighter at flyweight, but he's going into a division that's just absolutely stacked with other
They're all
killers. Yeah,
155 and 145. Like,
I know. Pick your poison.
pick your poison. What do you want to do? So I thought he looked fantastic. I'd have to go back and watch it one more time. But in the moment, like it was that second round where he landed that big knee to the body. Well, yeah, because he threw a kick and Ige moved in and he hit a knee to the liver on Ige, and Ige kind of winced, dropped, and like he ended up dropping him. But Ige was winning that round before then, landing a lot of big shots. It was so hard. And then the third round, that was another one where I was like, dude, the round was so even, and then Ige gets the takedown at the end. There was
something
so
funny
hard
about this fight, actually, because I was on the fence, and I was kind of leaning towards Barboza, and I've just got my wife watching UFC, basically, for the last 3 fights. Like, since we're just both trapped in the house, she's just watching it with me, and she's been getting really into it. And she just goes like, matter of fact, she's like, "Oh yeah, Egan won." Yeah, she was just so confident in it, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I couldn't go other way." But she's like, "Oh yeah, he seemed like he was in control."
So if let's take this for what it was then. Florida judges.
Yeah, probably haven't seen a lot of fights.
Nope.
So instincts.
Instinctually, you see a guy
isn't
moving
overthinking
forward.
it, then yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I called it for Ige, and I think it was that the second round was the hard one to call. Some people were giving Edson all 3 rounds, which again could be that third round. Well, here's the thing: that third round could have been Barboza's. It's because Ige didn't do a ton of damage on the ground. But I thought it was pretty clear that the third round was Ige's. The first round was Edson's. And that middle round, man, it really depends on where you scored it. Well, you scored like how the first 3.5 minutes went, or the last minute and a half where Edson did a ton of damage. And I like.
All right, I'll put it this way: had that fight been in Brazil, I could have seen Barboza winning.
Oh yeah, he would have won
rounds.
for sure. Yeah,
That,
he would have won regardless.
Yeah, all 3. That's how you get all 3 rounds. Put it in Brazil.
Yeah. All right. So before that, we had Christoph Jocko versus Eric Anders. Weird fight. Eric Anders is he's definitely an athletic specimen. Another one of these football players. Played for Alabama, the championship team. He actually trains with Wall Harris. So there are just so many weaknesses in his game, and I don't know. I'm not saying he can't shore them up, but as he stands right now as a mixed martial artist, he's just not a real contender. He is a athletic fighter who's got good skills, and he can beat the top outside the top 15. He could probably beat a few guys, but even in a light heavyweight division that's really thin, his skill set just isn't going to get him there.
Well, I do like the move down to middleweight.
Oh yeah, that's right. He fought at middleweight this time.
Yeah. Here's the thing: I don't actually know if I like that move now that I said it out loud. Like, I'd almost feel like he might have a better shot in light heavyweight.
Yeah, what I meant to say, yes, middleweight.
Yeah.
I forgot that but that's what I'm saying is like his skill set at middleweight is just not enough.
Yeah.
Even at light heavyweight, he might be able to do more because there's a shallower talent pool. So he might be able to, eke out some wins and maybe put some people away, get himself near the top 10. So I don't know. He needs, if he shores up his game and makes some improvements, then he definitely could be in contention because it's not the sky's the limit. He's not super young, but he is he's good. He's not a bad fighter. It's just when these guys are when he fights a technical fighter, he gets in trouble.
And it might be a case where he has all the athletic ability, but maybe he moved the UFC a little too quick. Maybe a little bit more time seasoning before you start working his way up in the UFC, so he might. I don't know. It might be a situation where even if he gets cut, he can make his way back in a couple of years if he sticks with it.
Yeah, I honestly I don't see him getting cut. Both 145 is relatively shallow, and 205 if he wants to go back up there. He said he feels better at 185. But 205 is 205 is pretty damn shallow. He could make a name for himself there, being a tough out for anybody. Jocko looked technical, and at 185, like I don't see Jocko cracking the top 5. He's I got to see a couple more fights from him. I actually don't know.
I'll be honest, looking at 185, like that's not crazy deep either. Like
no, it's not. It's not.
Like the folks at the top 5 is rough, but I mean, it's not incredibly deep after that.
Yeah, so Jocko, he beat Leites back in 2016, but then lost to David Branch, lost to Uriah Hall, lost to Brad Tavares, and got Allen against 2 guys without really a name, and now he beats Eric Anders. So, and I don't think he's very young either. No, he's my age. Oh, jeez. So he's 30. Yeah, he's not young either. Dude, it's just not a like those 2 guys, like Anders is 33. So both of those guys look like they're, like middling fighters. Like they both have a different skill set. Yeah. But they're already in their 30s, man. It's
fine. But I mean, the way things are going these days, I mean, there's fighters that don't really cusp until like 37, 38 sometimes when they make their run, even at those higher weight divisions.
Yeah, so Anders only has 18 fights, and that was the 26th fight for Jotko. So Jotko is kind of who he's going to be as a fighter. He can make a couple tweaks, but I think Anders has a lot of improvement to. It was an interesting. It was an interesting fight. Clearly, Jotko won that one. But this fight coming after Song Yadong getting the decision over Marlon Vera, I don't know how he got this one. Boggled my mind. I actually don't know how he won this one.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because he got a unanimous decision too.
I know, that was weird. And I'll be honest, I watched that fight and I felt almost a little bit conspiracy theory driven. I was like, really? I was like, is this just to like try and keep a couple feet in the Chinese market? Like, and I hate to throw that at him because he's a good
team
fighter.
Alpha male or whatever.
Yeah. No, and I hate to think that because he's a good fighter on his own right, and it's not like, he's not capable of winning, and judges can be just fucking crazy. But that was a weird, very off decision when I saw that.
So knowing what happened later in the night, I could tell you, I think I know why he got the decision. Big, loud, looping punches, man.
Yeah.
He throws hooks, and hooks make noise. Right? The hooks, when they slap on the arm, they make a lot of noise, and an inexperienced judge who hasn't seen a ton of fights, like that might have been it, man.
I don't know.
That one is bad. I had Vera winning that one. I was very confident in that one. I was like, yeah, Vera should win.
I had him confidently with 2 rounds.
Yes.
Like a hard precedent cement.
Yes.
He definitely has 2 rounds. I was like, oh, okay, cool, he won.
It was
maybe 3 rounds, probably 2. And then when I heard
that one was a
unanimous decision, I was like, out of your mind.
Well, when I heard unanimous decision, I'm like, oh yeah, it's Vera.
Yeah.
And then they're like Song Hidong. I'm like, no, not that one. You got that one wrong, guys.
You got to win on paper. No one thinks you won that fight. Except 3 judges.
Fuck.
There are 3 people in the country that think he won that fight, and they just happen to be judging.
Yeah, I don't even know if his corner thought he fucking won that one. Like,
I don't know if he thought he won it.
Team Alpha Male, I don't think they
when they gave him the win, he didn't seem very excited.
Did you catch the prelims? I actually didn't watch these ones. This is the first time I didn't watch prelims this week.
I gotta look at them. I think I watched the
Matt Brown one.
Yeah, I watched that one, which was sad.
Yeah, I didn't want to see that.
I love Matt Brown, and I almost didn't watch it just because I was like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that was just.
I think
I saw the fight before that too.
Yeah, Kevin Holland finishing Anthony Hernandez really quick. That was actually Kevin Holland's interesting, man. He's an interesting prospect at middleweight. He's a character. He's got a big mouth and he backs it up. He's fun inside the octagon. He's fun outside. If he can put together a couple good wins, I mean, he took Thiago Santos the distance.
Yep.
I mean, he got beat up a little bit, but he took him the distance. So he's no joke, man. He's interesting prospect. I'd like to see him in a couple more fights, and then give him someone in the top 15, and see if he can't hold his own.
Nah,
It'd be
really
pretty easy.
I dug that fight. I like his I like his background. I like what he brought into the cage, and I just thought it was cool. But that fight kind of got me excited about him. So I'm on the Kevin Holland train.
Yeah, I'm interested. So because he lost to. Okay, yeah. So his first fight. So his first fight in the UFC was Thiago Santos.
Mm-hmm.
I think he stepped up on short notice for that fight, actually. But he lost a unanimous decision. He went 3 rounds. And then he beats John Phillips, Gerald Meerschaert. That's a good fight. Alessio De Chirico. I do know of him, but not that well. He loses to Brendan Allen, which, I mean, Brendan Allen's really good, so that's not bad. And then he beats Anthony Hernandez. So as of right now, with his track record, he seems like he's just outside the top 20 type of fighter. But if he puts a couple good wins together, you could see him in the top 15 really easy.
Absolutely. I wouldn't mind them taking it slow with him though.
Yeah, I'm sick of them throwing everybody to the wolves.
He's only 27, so if he spent another 3 years and let's say 6 more fights outside of the top 15, or at least do 3, see if he wins 3 straight, and then start giving him guys in that kind of lower.
Well, just give him favorable, him a favorable matchup, maybe against a veteran with a little bit of a name, and see how he does. If he doesn't pass the test, then he goes right back to the drawing board. But if he passes the test against a crafty vet, then you put him where he belongs. So based off of the current ranking of that veteran at the time, what's 85 look like right now?
It's not great. I'll be honest. I just looked at it and I was like,
So I know there's at least 5 really good fighters. Top 5 I know is good.
Kevin Gastelum up is pretty dangerous. And then after Kevin Gastelum and Derek Brunson, it kind of.
So you got Robert Whittaker, still the number 1 contender for some reason. The contendership makes no sense. Do you think? I
pretty much consider anyone in the top 5 a contender, and any one of them could get a championship fight at any time.
What I'm saying is, do you think Robert Whittaker deserves the title shot the most right now?
No.
Then why is he number 1? This is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. It's literally in the title. The number 1 contender. He is number 1 of all the other contenders. The person who's most deserving of contendership is him. But we all know that that's not the case. Yes, he was champ, and yes, he deserves respect, and yes, he deserves to be ranked, especially even in the top 3, at least for sure the top 5, because with his body of work, I totally agree with that. But I'm saying is the number 1 contender should be the person who's most deserving, or the person who is most likely to get the next title shot, and that just is not the case.
Because he hasn't fought since he lost, right?
No, he's been really. He's
so
had a lot of
stuff.
stuff.
If you lose your last fight, you can't be number 1, even if you're the champ. I feel like.
Not true.
If you
immediate
lose
rematch, immediate rematch.
Even then, I still feel like.
Okay, if Khabib loses tomorrow, he's the number 1 contender, and he's gonna go fight for his belt again.
Even if it's 2, I just feel like it's weird to have the number 1 contender be someone that just lost the last fight. Like that's, and I get it. I'm just saying personally. Like that's just.
Well, here's one that boggles my mind. Tyron Woodley's still the number one contender at welterweight. Why?
What?
Why?
Oh, wow.
He lost
I didn't even
to
look at welterweight.
he lost to Kamaru like what, a year and a half ago?
Like 5 years ago.
It was not that long. Dude, and he lost convincingly, and he didn't get the immediate rematch.
He did not put up as good of a fight as Kobe Covington.
No, Kobe did better. Kobe's number 2.
I hate him, love him or hate him, however you feel about him. He definitely performed better against the champ than Tyron Woodley.
I'd rather see Stephen Thompson versus Kamaru Usman. I think that's a fun-ass fight.
That would be a good fight.
I know. It would be fun.
I also would like to see Stephen Thompson versus Masvidal. That would be fun, too.
No, we already saw it. Stephen Thompson won a split decision.
Yeah, do it again.
No, I don't want to see that. Dude, give Masvidal the title shot or give him Tyron Woodley. Like, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Like, those fights, those all sound good to me. Stephen Thompson, he has lost so much respect from everybody because he doesn't talk shit. Because he is not because he got a bullshit loss to Darren Till. He did not lose that fight. That fight was in England, and that's why he lost that fight. He did not lose that. He won that fight. Then he beats a really tough. He beat Vicente Luque. He beat the shit out of him for 3 rounds. Dude, he is one of. There's a reason why he's ranked number 5. He's one of the best in the division, and I believe he's a tough test for literally anyone in that division. I don't care who it is. On any given night, Stephen Thompson can beat you. And to be honest, I don't want to see Kamaru Usman versus another guy who can't stop a takedown. Like, I think him versus Masvidal is an interesting matchup, and I think him versus Stephen Thompson's an interesting matchup. I think him versus Rafael, we saw that. He fought. Robbie might be interesting. We saw him versus Damian Maia, as bullshit as that was. Gilbert Burns is a good matchup.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, why all those people I just mentioned are ranked lower than Tyron Woodley? Why? Tyron Woodley, he hasn't fought since he lost, and all these other people have and put on amazing performances. Like, the guy needs to go.
He needs to fight. Shit or get off the pot. Like,
and I'm not mad at him, and it's not his fault, but he's not the number 1 contender because shouldn't be contending for the title. Who are we talking about? 185.
We were in 185, and we were looking at how not deep it is.
So Anderson Silva's ranked 15 still. Did not know that till right now. Interesting. Wow. Uriah Hall.
How is Tyron Woodley ranked 1 in welterweight? And Anderson Silva's 15.
So he's 15 at middleweight. Let's see, we got Shoeface, Antonio Carlos Jr., Ian Heinisch, Ahmed Brad Tavares. Uriah Hall was supposed to fight Jacare. Emin Shabazian, he's the up-and-comer. It's not that shallow. There's some good contenders in there. I don't know, man. There's a few good fighters in there. I just don't think that there's the talent drop-off after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you're right, though. Man, the talent drop-off after 5 is you got Jack Hermanson, who's a very interesting out for a lot of people. He can crack, but he's like a very crafty guy. He's got some interesting submission wins. And then you got Kelvin Gastelum, who has the chin of all chins and cardio for days. Your mic's off.
It's never going to be an easy night with Kelvin Gastelum. And that's where after him, then I'm kind of like, all right, they're all right fighters, but... Well,
Edmund Shabazian he's a newer fighter. He's very young, and he comes out of Edmund Tarvarian camp, Ronda Rousey's coach.
Interesting.
Yeah, and based off what we're seeing from Shabazian, I think we can kind of let him off the hook. and just put all that shit on Ronda being just kind of terrible at taking direction?
I feel like it was probably a combination of both. I think
Maybe.
some people clash. I think some people clash, and I just think that was not a good marriage of coach and fighter.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to get off on this tangent, but there's part of me that thinks that when Travis Brown looked very different before he started dating Ronda Rousey, I think his focus got pulled away from the game quite a bit.
He was 1 foot out.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not saying that. I'm also not criticizing or saying that's a bad thing. Like if his thought was, oh, I'm kind of done with this and I want to start my family and I found the person I want to spend the rest of my life with and I want to start that right now, dude, that's fucking amazing. Please go do that right now. But
what's up, dude?
Watch this now.
Ask your mom. Ask your mom. Ask your mom.
Monkey. Yeah, so like I'm happy for them being like happy, of course, but just taking it back and just putting this to MMA, I think there was a severe drop off in Brown's output, both in fight and out of the fight after he started dating her.
Do you know what fight I'd like to see at middleweight now that I'm looking at this? Kelvin Gastelum versus Yoel Romero.
Yeah, I've wanted to see that fight for years. Actually,
I think that would be a great fight.
Yeah, and I think Yoel Romero doesn't want that fight.
And that's why I want it. That's part of why I want it to happen. I think
Dude, you know what I think will happen?
For Yoel Romero.
Hell yeah, it is. And it'll put something on Kelvin's name. It'll get him back out there because Kelvin
will convincingly beats Yoel Romero and just
which
puts
he will.
It on him. Yeah.
I have a ton of confidence in Kelvin. I thought Kelvin versus Weidman, right? Like that was a tougher test for Kelvin than Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero matches up so bad against Kelvin, right? What is Yoel Romero's what is the advantage that he has? A really hard punch.
Yep.
And wrestling that he never uses, cardio that he has but never shows. Yeah, he doesn't have fucking cardio. Fast hands that only throws 1 or 2 punches at a time unless he rocks you, and then he'll like unload everything.
I also want to make that a 5-round fight. I'd want that to be like a fight night headliner. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in that division with Kelvin Gastelum. We forgot to talk about it. Dude, Kelvin popped for marijuana and they suspended him for 9 fucking months.
I did not see that.
Dude, that pisses me off so much. And so let's just say this outright. Maybe he accepted the punishment so readily because he had something wrong with him to begin with. Maybe he had an injury, something nagging. Maybe he realizes that he's not going to be fighting anytime soon anyway, that it's unlikely he's going to get a fight in the next 6 months. So a 9-month suspension isn't a big deal. So maybe that's the case. And maybe he'll be able, that's another thing is like these suspensions, when they're up and where they end. So he could have a camp and get ready for a fight that is like very close to when his suspension ends. So I don't know if he accepted all this because of all those things, and maybe he was already planning to take time off, and that's why he didn't want to fight it, and it's not worth the money to go to court over this and all that other stuff. That all aside, USADA, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, wait.
Dude, get the fuck out of here. Like I'm if Kelvin accepted it because if he had some other things going on, like I said, fine, that's his choice. But fuck you, USADA. It's so disgusting. You have people.
Fuck that. I'm reading it right now, and I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. Come on,
dude. People. I've already said I do not have a hard stance on PEDs in sports. The one argument that I've heard that someone brought up that doesn't change my mind necessarily, but brings it brought to light something that I wasn't actively thinking about was professionals using things, and then it basically encourages youth to do that. I've heard that argument multiple times, and I've heard someone actually put it that way in an intelligent way. So all of that being
I
said,
don't buy that one.
well, so here, but like all that being said, I don't care if you're on stuff. That being said, there's people in the USADA testing pool. There's people in the USADA testing pool popping right now for actual PEDs, and they're getting let go. Their suspensions. First of all, how fucked up is that? These people are popping for things, and they're
It
saying,
looks like it got
"Oh,
reduced to 5 months, which is good.
no, that's not good. It should be reduced to 0 months or
know.
negative months. They should pay him money for like putting his name in any sort of negative headline. Fuck them, dude. It's so bad. They have bungled every single interaction possible. Like when they, when they had the opportunity to do the right thing, which is like their mission statement of we're going to clean up the sport, which is not what they're really doing, but let's say that that's what they were actually doing. They've had the opportunity to do that multiple times, and every single time they get the opportunity, they drop the fucking ball. Again, I don't care about it, but look, like Brock Lesnar comes back,
All right.
and they're like, oh, we don't need to test him for 4 months. And then they test him, he fails. Test him post-test, he fails. And then what do? Oh, we don't need to fine him that much. Let's just give him his money, even though he like cheated our system. And then with John Jones, oh, he failed, but we think that it's not affecting his performance, even though you suspended a guy for 2 years with that exact same substance in his body who had less of it in his system than John Jones did, being
All right.
Tom Lawler.
Here's my argument against
the
influence on children, because I think that's a weak argument as is, especially with marijuana. Well, then
not
that's not
marijuana. I'm talking about testosterone.
Or just the whole influence on children thing. Well, then that's not a performance enhancement issue. That's a lifestyle issue that you're punishing someone for. And then you have to start analyzing what other aspects of lifestyle should we be punishing for. Because, all right, you're going to punish them for drug use. Essentially, the idea of promoting drug use. Now you have to go as hard if they commit a crime outside the octagon.
Dude,
so if someone gets a DUI, you're going to have to suspend them for a year. If someone's going to, someone
but
getting
they haven't.
I know. That's what I mean. Like if you're going to have that argument towards drugs, you have to have it for everything. Dude, you have to look at you're basically controlling that person's lifestyle because we have to protect the children. Like, no, fucking kids are going to do what kids do.
Yeah, and I'm all for people making intelligent decisions with their lives and setting a positive example for people, and even having work-related guidelines to help people perform in their job. I totally get all that stuff. But here's the deal with cannabis, right? It's in your system for, like weeks, months, okay? And you can test at high levels depending on how much you're using at any given time, whereas a substance like cocaine is out of your system in like 3 days, or alcohol is out of your system in a day. So now we have other substances which are just as damaging to the body, if not way more damaging, okay? And they're out of your system faster. Therefore they're less likely to come up in a test. So, and I don't even think they test for alcohol outside of like fight day, and I don't know why they would be testing, because remember when they tested John Jones and he tested positive for cocaine, and they were like, we shouldn't even been testing.
Yeah, it was like a week or 2 weeks prior or something.
Yeah,
and that was outside the threshold from where that's supposed to even be like, yeah.
So
which is funny excuse.
Who gives a shit if someone's smoking pot?
Yeah,
it's especially dude, it makes me it makes me mad because they fucked everything up in the UFC.
Just stop testing for pot, everybody.
No, just stop working for the stop doing all of your stuff, because you fucking suck at it. Because if your goal is to make this sport safer, show me the science. You've had a long enough time. You've had a big enough sample size. Show me that fighters are healthier now than when you weren't involved. Show me that. Show me the fucking data. Otherwise, you have just ruined people's careers for no fucking reason. Because you didn't do your job, and you've ruined other people and you've made it so they can't do their job. Screw you guys. You're healthier. That's my point.
That's an interesting point. Define how it makes them healthier.
Yeah, great. I agree. So show me the data. If you can show me properly analyzed objective data that shows that you have made the sport safer, not in a subjective way, in objective with numbers, you can show me that there are less injuries, that there are less knockouts, that there are more fighters making it to fight day, that there are less long-term damaging effects, which is very hard to show. But if you could even show me a little bit of anything that you've made an improvement in any of those areas, and you show me you have a little bit of a leg to stand on, I will maybe give you some leeway. But if you don't, which they haven't, and from what I can see and the people who have really analyzed this, they haven't done shit. Yep. The fight game is no different than it was before. I mean, it's no different.
It's security theater, or
it was so they could sell the UFC.
Yeah. It was to legitimize it. That's all it really was. And it went overboard. Let's be honest.
Fine. It's over. They sold it. It's done. Get rid of them.
They should have outlined a program with USADA that was similar to what the NFL does. Like that's really what they should have done. Essentially, it's an intelligence test, and if you fail, then you're under scrutiny.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And if you want to tell me right now that these fighters are healthier not being on testosterone, I'll tell you right now, you're a liar. You're either actively lying or you don't have the information. Because ask any athlete. Ask any athlete in the NFL. Yeah. Ask any one of them.
Even right now, I'd be curious to know how it affects the immune system.
Yes. Yeah.
If it improves recovery, theoretically, it should improve your immune system while you're training at very high levels.
Ask the best athletes in the United States or in the world how it affects their system and how it affects the sport. You tell me where the damage is done, and if it's done to the actual players or competitors themselves, and it's doing long-term damage to them or anybody else, then we can have a discussion. Other than that, you're ruining people's careers for no fucking reason. They have taken years off of people. And I will even say this.
The one argument I'll make is shit like EPO though. That's where it gets. That's where I'm kind of on the that's where it gets weird for me. Maybe it's because I don't know enough about it, but
I will tell you, knowing that everybody in cycling does it and how few deaths there are from it. If you have someone intelligent doing it, someone at a high level, yeah, I mean, at the local level, it's gonna cause problems if someone's doing things and they don't know what they're doing. But it's the same thing as someone getting in a really fast car and not knowing how to fucking drive it.
I mean, it's a fair point. Listen, I'm always gonna side more on the era of freedom and letting people figure shit out, especially if it doesn't hurt people around them. So if that's what you're going to do yourself to figure out if that's going to be your career, I'm more in favor of you having the freedom to do that than someone hold your hand and fucking tell you no.
The argument I used to side with, it wasn't one that I made myself, but one that I understood was the reason why testosterone in baseball or growth hormone in baseball was no big deal is, well, they're hitting a ball, who gives a shit? And I'm totally for that, because you're ruining records. What are those? Numbers that you wrote down in a book? Cool, put them in a different book. Say a different era. I don't care. You have a dead ball era and you have a live ball era already in baseball. I don't know anything about baseball, and I know that. So just have a testosterone era and a pre-testosterone era. Have a cocaine era. Have an amphetamine era, because those were things as well.
Take a look at the different eras of the NFL.
Yeah, you can have different eras and different when different rules were in place and all those other things. So if what you're trying to protect is the integrity of the game and the records thereby, go screw yourself. That's stupid. That's a dumb reason not to do something. If you're talking about health and safety, now this is where it gets into the argument for something like MMA. And the argument that I heard and that I kind of sided with originally was, your purpose is to hurt the other person. Unlike almost any other sport, other than combat sports, yes, football, the object is to score and stop from scoring, which involves a lot of physicality and a lot of interaction. Therefore, a lot of people do get hurt. But the object of football is not to hurt your opponent or to stop them from being able to move, right? MMA, that is the object of the game. So the argument I sided with was, the ability to keep your physical prime longer than you should allows you to inflict more damage upon your opponent than you would be able to do, right? It would put you in a position where you have an advantage over someone else that you shouldn't have. Okay, and on the surface, that sounds like a good argument. But now we have data. Let's look at it, because I can tell you, it hasn't changed shit. It hasn't changed anything. People are still getting damaged at the same rate. Now, the people winning might be different, but that's not a safety issue. Now you're just trying to cook the books in your favor.
So I've actually heard a counter argument to that too. And essentially it goes along the lines of kind of pitching speed versus essentially drug use with pitchers being kind of the balancing out for drug use with batters. So people that are taking it and training in the right way, you end up seeing them get knocked out less. So there's almost kind of a defensive aspect as well.
That's what I mean.
It's hard medically to say, would you rather that person get knocked out 3 times when they could have taken something and never got knocked out?
Yes.
Granted, they might have taken more.
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
I would rather they have the option to.
I don't know. That's kind of where, when I heard that argument, I was like, it's like, that kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, people can hit harder, but people can also potentially, like, it might end up being stronger defensively than offensively.
Yeah, because
in terms of the effect it has.
So testosterone, it comes down fundamentally to how testosterone affects the body. Same with human growth hormone. It doesn't actively make your muscles bigger. Okay, it doesn't actively make you faster. It doesn't actively make you stronger. What it does is it increases protein synthesis, like testosterone. In the case of testosterone, I'm a little less familiar with HGH, but I know that it reopens growth plates, and it basically turns your body into almost not puberty per se, but like that time of your life when everything is repairing very quickly and constantly growing. It puts your body back in that. This is a little bit of bro science for that one. But when
give me a cycle of that right now.
So that's what I'm saying. Like on the side of testosterone, increasing protein synthesis and having your body's ability to regenerate muscle tissue increased, right? The speed of things recovering is faster. So if you could normally like just working out, right? If you could normally bench press twice a week, or you had to wait 4 days for your body to recover after a heavy benching session, maybe now you only need to wait 3. Yeah. It doesn't make you stronger. It allows you to do more work in less amount of time, and it even improves like recovery time in between things. Just like creatine. What about creatine? Why aren't we banning creatine? Creatine improves your ability to overload.
It's because one is classified by the US FDA as a steroid, and the other one somehow gets to be a dietary supplement. Which somehow makes it less regulated than pharmaceutical drugs that have less of an effect on your body, which is interesting.
Yeah, you can literally, you can throw supplement on it and you can put whatever you want in there, and until someone proves that it hurts somebody, then you can just sell it. It doesn't matter. Dude, the way I look at it is, like you said, I don't know. I don't have the numbers to tell you that it will improve your ability to absorb X amount of punches. It's all anecdotal from what I see, and from knowing what I know about the substance itself. It will improve your body's ability to recover. And if we know anything about MMA fighters and their work ethic, they are almost always overtrained.
Yeah, it's impossible not to be, just because of how many things you have to master. And
I know.
Yeah.
So if we minimize the amount of overtraining that is happening, while still fighting at the same not consistency with what the same, you're fighting at the same rhythm, right? You're fighting at the same amount of times as you are now, but you're fighting you're getting to the octagon more, you're healthier when you get there, and your body's ability to recover both during the fight and in training is so much better. Who are we hurting here?
Yeah. And if you get less ACL tears, less knee injuries, if you get, and I think that's something that it's a little bit ignored too. If you're able to recover from that better, or you're getting injured less, that's going to help you lifetime. Like, your longevity is going to increase, even though you're getting hit in the face. Like, if you
Yes.
start to damage someone's ability to walk when they're older, that's a huge impact on their health long term.
Yeah, you know what? I just wish, I really wish it wasn't a Schedule 1 drug. I wish people were.
I wish half the drugs that are Schedule 1 are not Schedule 1 drugs.
Yeah, I know. I just wish they had the ability to do studies with them so we could have actual information.
It's a dumb system.
I mean, they use them. So the thing is, or not, they're not Schedule 1. I think they're Schedule 2 because they do use them in medicine. Yeah. I don't remember now. But people use them for if you have a wasting disease like AIDS, right? Or muscular dystrophy. I don't know if cerebral palsy, if it helps, but if you have a muscular or like wasting disease, they give you testosterone. Oh, yeah. So that means there's science that shows how much is okay to give to a person, and they even give it to people. Yeah, what am I saying? It's allowed for people on TRT.
Listen, if my wife
can have it,
yeah, if my wife wanted to be a dude, she could just go get testosterone fucking tomorrow almost. And really, no one's gonna stop her.
That's what I mean. So we're giving it to people. We're giving it to grandpa who wants to feel vitality again. We're giving it to people who don't feel like they were born into the right body. We're giving it to people who have a disease that's causing them to lose their muscles. We're giving it to people. But when we give it to a healthy person who's in peak physical condition and competing against other people, now all of a sudden it's not healthy anymore? What the fuck are you saying? You're not telling me the same story. You're telling me that giving it to people who are sick is okay, or people who need, like, people who they designate as not having enough of it is okay, but people who are competing in something, even if they don't have enough of it, it's against the rules because all of a sudden you have an advantage.
So I've made this argument in the military. I have no problem with anyone coming to the military and identifying as whatever they want and getting whatever hormones they want, as long as I get them too.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, if you can come in and just say, like, hey, I need testosterone because I identify as a guy, I want to be able to walk in the same office and say, cool, I want testosterone too, because I don't want to train as hard for my next PT test. Dude, I want to recover better so I can
train harder.
Yeah, train harder.
Well, let's be honest. The people who want to do that stuff, it's because they want to train harder and their body's failing them.
That's really why I want it too. I want to recover from minor injuries that continuously plague me. I want to be able to do the things physically I want to do. That would just help me.
There's this thing where, actually, in the military, I've noticed it's not so much. I don't know if it's changed since I've been in, but it ain't an issue getting this stuff. Like a lot of the guys,
depending on a lot of it is random. I will say that.
Yeah, like the guys at the gym, they just be like, yeah, who cares? Like I work out a lot, and I also work 16-hour days. My body isn't recovering. Like I want to be able to recover. All right, I want to get bigger. I want to get stronger, and my body's not letting me do that right now. All right.
There's bodybuilding competitions in the military.
Yes.
They're not clean.
No, they're not.
No one's clean.
There's powerlifting competitions too.
No one's clean.
No. And I'm okay with it. It doesn't bug
me.
I just wish, that's what I'm saying, is I wish there wasn't such a giant stigma around it, and we can get more data on it, and we could have professionals who have more information and study the human body administering this substance to people instead of people doing like guesswork.
Sciencing it, yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I'll tell you, from what we know about professional sports, that's kind of what's going on. Like we're seeing it's all being administered by doctors, and they're doing things in a very scientific and well thought out manner already. So if we could apply that to the UFC, not the TRT days where it's literally just like everybody gets a free pass, but in a way where everybody is welcome to walk into the they already have a facility for it. Like everybody's welcome to the UFC training center, and we have doctors that can test your testosterone levels, your hormones, and give you a regimented supplement or a supplement regimen to help you compete in the sport and stay healthy while doing it. Why not? They already do it with everything else. They tell you how much you can train. They tell you what you can put in your body already.
The fact that you can get almost unlimited cosmetic surgery to your body, yet you cannot do that same thing with hormones is interesting.
No,
like
you can.
You can slice up your fucking nose and face, entire body any way you want.
But you can't change it yourself. That's cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're allowed to get pec implants, but you're not allowed to like actually go to the gym and work on them and take testosterone to help you make them look better. You can only get implants. It's so stupid.
All right, dude. Well,
okay.
That about wraps it up. Next time we talk, I do want to talk about the John Jones Ngannou.
Oh yeah, the little back and forth they had. Yeah, we can go over that. I mean, like, let's see how it plays out for the rest of the week. Maybe we'll get some more back and forth between them.
Absolutely. And I am going to plug another podcast I just started listening to recently. If you haven't checked out Hot Boxing, fucking Mike Tyson's podcast.
No, I have not.
It's a really good podcast. I downloaded a couple of them and I saw that he did one with Holyfield. Man.
We need to talk about him later too, because he might be fighting again.
We'll see. He did do a podcast with Holyfield, and it was really awesome listening to them both go through and just talk about the old days and coming up together and just the dichotomy they had. It was awesome. But yeah, if you listen to this podcast, definitely check that one out because it's way better than ours.
All right, dude. Thanks everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I don't actually know when the next UFC is, but I'm so glad it's back. Like, I'm really glad that they did this, and it turns out Florida's not doing so bad with this COVID stuff. So we're all right. We gonna be fine.
Here's to hope.
All right, later, everybody.